Hey guys, welcome back to the weekly recap show. We skipped last week and we're back this week. I'm horrible at intros, as always. That's something that hasn't changed. But we're going to be going over episodes 17 and 18 this week. We did this a lot last summer, so it's not a concept we are foreign to. We're going to do multiple episodes in one episode, and we'll kind of talk a little bit about it. One thing we'll also talk maybe a little bit about tonight is we might be doing a little bit of a different setup with what players we have this summer. That just depends on if Jacob and Abby and I want to get into that conversation a little more, but not too much. But basically, yeah, we'll go ahead and start this off. We've got Jacob, Abby, and Zach, and myself tonight. And we've had a pretty good past 2 weeks, starting off our 3-month time limit that we have, pretty much, to save the world. As D&D goes, you save worlds.
The song that just started playing in my head was "I Need a Hero," and I don't know why. That song is amazing.
Oh man!
Oh,
all right,
that's like a karaoke bomb, you know.
I need to resort back to my notes. So yeah, last week we talked about. So I'll start with episode 17 last week. We started off by talking about what had just happened. What had just happened was we were attacked at the prison while we were questioning the character who had a dragon sword. He was very powerful. We all got attacked. My character went down for whatever reason. He revived me because of his ego or whatever. We actually talked about that in the last recap, episode 16, so go watch that. Then Triatus comes to talk with us, who is one of the guys that was helping us out there. Braun actually ended up leaving us, and that's something we'll talk about later. So Braun heads out. He's got his own stuff that he needs to figure out away from the group. We tell Rebecca and Triatus what had just happened with us as well. And then they kind of head out, and they're going to try to figure some stuff out as we head to the Cobalt Vault, where we need to talk to Thia, or Lucy, who has information about where Thia needs to go, which is our next quest that we're trying to figure out. Thia trying to figure out this sickness that has killed both her mom and now is slowly killing one of the elves in Amon, and it's apparently very dangerous for overall elves, and as we learn to find out, dwarves, and I think there's one other race. But dwarves...
It was like humans with like elven ancestry.
Oh, yes.
Essentially half elves.
Yeah.
So elves of any kind, even with elven blood, and then dwarves are very badly affected by it. So we head to the Cobalt Vault. It's the big library of Vasselheim. So we got to the library. We go down 5 floors. I don't know why I'm saying all that. And
you do add details a lot.
I do, yeah.
It's because you're reading your notes.
Yeah.
You're reading your notes. And you're like 5 floors. That means something. Jacob's done something. It means something.
It does. It means something.
It means nothing.
Lucia Dia is downstairs.
Ooh.
And basically we start off by Animus asks her if he can get access to the library. She makes him play a song, so he plays a song with a magical lute that she had given him, and he now has access to a book. Then Thea has to get her to laugh by telling her a joke.
Didn't work.
It kind of worked. It barely worked.
That was a reference. Does anyone know the reference that is?
No.
I know it, and I mentioned it in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, you did.
Zach, do you want to say what it was?
I'm pretty sure it was Boomy from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
That is one that you could say, but there's also there's 2. So in Dragon Ball Z, Goku has to make King Kai laugh in order for him to train him.
Okay.
So there was a double reference there.
I got one of them.
Zach got one of them.
Feeling very funny
I think Zach got the harder reference.
Yeah.
That's good job, Zach.
I did it.
So basically, you have to pay for the request, but not in money. You pay for the request by either like what we just said, laughter, music, whatever she wants you to do. So Thea ends up getting some information on where this old elven city is after going through with her request. She also gives Lochnar some candy, which he immediately eats, and it starts to... She pretty much is like, get the fuck out of here before that starts taking effect, because he shouldn't have eaten it right there. So half the group's starting to run out. I walked up and started reading the book I wanted to read. And then Thea actually stayed behind, and Lucia Dia ended up being the Moonweaver in disguise, and they had a little conversation, which we will get into a little bit later. But that was kind of her first talking
and it blew
point.
Abby's mind, and it was beautiful.
One of her first talking points with the Moonweaver ever since the temple.
Oh.
So...
honestly, I think she's talked to me more since that happened, and I've been actively pissed than she had before.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Well, you've also got to think, so as the zenith gets closer, her power gets stronger, and then after the zenith, it starts to wane. So her power is linked to the moon, or the moons themselves.
Thea will be full power by the time it
again
hits.
Another Avatar reference. It's like Sozin's Comet.
The thing,
I'm loving the last
Avatar.
Airbender.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
I would love to do a campaign in Avatar. I don't know why they haven't done.
Oh, I
so
would
much fun.
love.
That'd be so sick.
Anyway,
I might just make like an Avatar kind of character,
like
for
monk,
the next campaign or
You can-
something.
so
Kind of like
there's a-
Marisha did.
there's an
in Critical
elemental
Role.
monk subclass
Yeah.
that essentially
But I'm
is.
like, I don't want to be like
Avatar.
the Avatar. I want to be like.
No, you can take
wanna
an
be
element.
like-
An
I
elemental.
want to be like one of the
I wanna
swamp
pick one.
vendors.
Yeah, I want
wanna
to pick
be like-
something more interesting.
I want to be like Sokka.
Yes, Boomy.
All right. So
They came back, guys.
Moving on. So Thea has that conversation with the Moonweaver, and then the actual Lucy walks down the hall past her. She seems to have slightly been in on it. She knew about the whole situation. Gave Thea a little
Exchange
wink.
winks.
Yeah, a little wink. Kept walking. No one else saw it. Animus, what he learned from the book is the exact location of the Fire Ashari, because that is his next quest as well. Lochnar ended up growing 100 feet tall as they barely made it out of the Cobalt Vault. And then we all kind of joined up and we were like, okay, well, we need to start heading out towards this place. So we got the supplies and rations we needed. We grabbed Peggy, our Pegasus, who's kind of been a little bit on the quieter side of us trying to bring him into this because we were kind of in a lot of fights, and realistically we don't want Peggy to be part of that. But now he's on a journey with us, so we'll have to actually take note of that. And we started off and we were going through the forest. We ended up seeing or walking through a village of Bullywogs, which is from a one-shot that I ran a while
Caleb,
back.
you should have seen your face when I was doing all those callbacks. You
So
were so happy.
excited that we walked through that village of the Bullywogs. Very different outcome to last time. Zach, Jacob, Hunter, and who else played that?
Is that the one with Michael?
Michael.
Yeah, he played Yukimoto.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So those four played in that one shot. It was really fun, but yeah. So we ended up walking through. We did not fight them, unlike what the group did in my one shot. And we kind of just walked through and made our way out. Made camp for the night, and all of a sudden, this little squirrel with red eyes got all of our attention. Everyone who could see it, which was Animus, Thea, and Zygon. Us three were the only ones who were able to see it. So we started running after it, and then Lochnar and Anzu are like, what the hell's going on? And eventually, after a couple of things happening, teleporting, running, sprinting, whatever, we all got into this area where we were standing right in front of this character, this hooded character who the squirrel ran up on her shoulder. That's the end of episode 17, jumping into episode 18. We're in front of this cloaked character, and she is the sibling of the gatekeeper from a little two-part story that we went through in another realm. I forget what it was called.
Innistrad.
Innistrad.
You were in Innistrad.
We were in Innistrad.
Come on, magic nerd.
I know. I'm not the magic nerd, though. I'm just kind of. Innistrad, that was the gatekeeper.
Oh, man, I can't wait for that new set. Anyway.
So she says she knows what happened in the village that Thea is looking for, and that the sickness came from her plane or dimension that she lived in. And pretty much only elves and dwarves can get it, as I explained before.
I can go super into detail on her also later on. But
yeah.
While you're...
I want to know so much more about her. She is intriguing.
It doesn't work well on our plane, so that's why it's a very slow process for someone to die. And also, apparently, it's not very easy to catch, which is why Thea wasn't able to catch it just being around her mom or being around the one girl in Amon. Hannah, yes. Her name is Winnogear. The character.
What a cool name. I really like that one, Jacob.
It's
Thank you.
Sick. So she ends up giving Thea...
I'll explain all of that in a little bit.
She ends up giving Thea temporary immunity because we're about to head into the city that is known for having this sickness. So, one thing I wrote down was that she doesn't blink because Jacob made it a weird little situation where this character didn't blink. So I guess we'll get into that.
There's a lore reason for why she doesn't blink either.
And we'll get into that. So we head back to camp, we go to sleep, and then we head on our way, Thea leading us to the village. When we got to the village, there's some zombie elves walking around, but they seem to pay no attention to us. And Thea walks up to the well in the middle of the village and gets a water sample. As we're walking around, there's also some crystals, these weird-looking crystals that are kind of doing a little glow. And Thea, upon touching one, it kind of hits her with this energy and encases her arm, and then because she has the temporary immunity, it kind of backs off. And
I did some dumb Anzu shit, and I just said, "Let me touch it."
Yep.
Okay, so that's why we can get into that later too. Just keep going.
Speaking of dumb Anzu shit, Anzu ends up just running across. He ran over and apparently read a note on the wall and just ran across the whole village, jumped into the well, and then just started swimming down. He did that without telling our entire group that he was doing it. Don't know why. Hunter was in a weird mood, I guess. But
I will say that I think there's an argument on both sides of whether Anzu as a character would do that, and I personally believe that it is. I think it's within his character.
I think it's
to do something impulsive, but I think he would have said something. Is like the thing is he would have
yelled. I think he would have yelled like everything's bad or something. Like
he would have yelled something, but he didn't for sure.
But it's just like there could have been shit inside that house.
Yeah,
and there was. So, I was like, I'm gonna explore that shit before I go after his ass.
While Hunter does that, he swims down and finds like some random little cave that no one cares about, and then finds another cave that we end up meeting him in because we all teleport to him anyways. I commune with nature. I think it's my first time using that spell, and the things that I find out are that the pond is super deep, over 300 feet. There's a celestial sitting on the edge of the woods, which is one of the biggest things that we found out through that. And the crystals are obviously from another dimension. We would assume from the dimension that this elf lady was from. But basically, the celestial on the edge of the woods, Thea tried to go look to see if she could see this creature, and she could not. So we will probably try to get back to figuring that out. But as of right now, the celestial does not want to be found, and celestials are hard to find when they don't want to be found because they're powerful. So Zygon ends up heading into the open house, and everyone else pretty much joins. And we find an armor piece, and the house is kind of a little bit broken in, and we decide, okay, let's go from here and head to Anzu. So we teleport to Anzu after he's done all the work for us to swim down the entire well, and then across a long freaking swim, like 300 feet sideways, and then there's a big chamber that we ended up in front of, and there's a main door in front of us, and then to our left there's a wall that goes way up, and there's a crystal sitting on the wall. On our right there's this little archway, and there's some deep water with a crystal sitting up on the archway. The first thing we do is Thea shoots this blue crystal in the water on our left side starts floating up. And so we go up to that side, and there's these two flumps for in another one of my one-shots that I did back just with Abby and Hunter. So that was fun to see. And then we talked to them, and they're like, yeah, you guys can come in this door, but Thia can't come in because she's an elf. So we go in there. There's these crystals. They're black. They're super powerful, and they're the same type of crystal that were up above. And that's why Thia couldn't be in there, is because those things would probably get through whatever immunity she had. As well as that, there was some information in there. There were some runes from the Moonweaver written all the way across the wall, which Animus started scribing down the entire time they were in there. And Zygon got some information. He got some, what was it? Some information from the old doctor who used to be there. So he got a couple books of that. And we also figured out that the city of Xenogast has more information that we needed to get. So Xenogast being beyond the two large doors that we can't get through right now. So we walked out. We told Thea of all this information. She hasn't read the notes yet from either the books from Zygon or the notes from myself, just because we're trying to get through those doors as soon as possible. And then we head into the other direction, which is where the other crystal was in the archway. Once again, Thea shoots the crystal, and all the water disperses this time, and this creature called Chauncey is there on the ground, this giant, ugly-ass, monstrous creature, and we apparently have to feed Chauncey some dead flesh, which Zygon has a lot of because he's been collecting dead heads for a long time.
You all laughed at him and said they would never be useful.
I forgot one more one-shot shout-out, because the other thing from Jacob that he shout-out was the manor that was in the Timberland delivery one-shot. That we just kind of walked past it. Nothing happened there, but I was excited.
You could hear the ghost of Perrier.
The ghost of Perrier, who's now... Well, he wouldn't be there now.
Fucking Perrier.
God.
Yeah.
Just Hunter playing another...
Hunter makes beautiful characters, man. He's good at
characters, and then he plays them as himself.
I really enjoyed Perrier.
Perrier was so good. He played Perrier.
Perrier almost let me die.
But yeah,
Hunter should never play anything remotely close to a healer. That is the one thing I will say, because he'll be worse than me.
Hunter should play
at the very least. I still do it. Yeah.
Something that we don't care.
I think he should be a bard. I think a bard naturally fits with Hunter's character.
I think it naturally fits with Hunter. I don't think it's a good one for him to play, though. At
the very least, the weird, random, selfish decisions he tends to make sometimes would track as a bard.
But bards are also support characters a lot, and you want them to have those support spells, and you don't...
Not the way Hunter would play it.
Exactly, that's why I'm telling you.
He'd be like, no, I'm a battle bard.
Alright, well, let's jump into this.
He'd be College of Swords.
First thing we'll go into is...
Valor.
Abby, what was the conversation you had with the Moonweaver? Just the basics, because this will be a long episode, so... I guess basically, what did you guys talk about when you were down in the vault?
Well, she was like, gave me the rundown on like the elven village, and she was like, listen, like, it's wiped out, it's gone, and it's been gone for a long time. And I was like, fucking, are you kidding me? I was like, why are you sending me here? Like, what is and then she was like, there's still useful information there, just go, it's here in this place. And then I just kind of expressed some of my frustrations. Nothing I haven't expressed before, but I think, I kind of came to terms with the fact that, like, I'm just gonna have to take care of myself. And it doesn't mean she doesn't care. It's just, like, the nature of gods is that, like, they aren't going to be there for you constantly all the time. Yeah, and I think that's one thing Thea has a...
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's something that Thea has a hard time with. And, like, while I understand, like, while Abby, I do understand that, like, I think the Moonweaver came to Thea in a time when she needed guidance and, like, someone to care about her the most. And, to feel, like, so distant, and then to have something tragic happen to her, that was kind of partially as a result of like someone's hatred for the Moonweaver, to be a victim because of her like caring about this deity, like has left her a little jaded and bitter. And so I think she's finally just trying to come to terms with the fact that, like, you know, everything she needs has been within her all along, like that kind of bullshit, you know? And I don't really remember the specifics of the conversation, I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm trying to remember, and I'm like...
It was a while ago.
Couldn't tell you. It was a minute.
That means the viewers should go back and watch the episode.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah. And maybe someone should clip that conversation.
Yeah.
It won't be me
but
right now.
I will say, I think she did walk away a little bit more like, okay, fine. Like, I'm here and I'm meant to do something. And I think it was just a lot of like, why me? Like, why do I have to go through all this shit? Why am I special? Why am I about to save the world for some reason? Or at least, like, tasked with it. Gonna try. And so I think she's just like, well, I gotta do it, so I guess I'm gonna do it. That doesn't mean there's no resentment left, but I think she's just kind of like determined at this point, like to just kind of get through her basic like main goals and problems, and then figure out what her life will be if they are successful.
And what I will say is, the deities of Exandria can't do a lot, because they're locked. They're essentially locked in like a gated community. They can't do a lot because they're afraid of interference. Because the last time they did anything, there was a massive war, and
the main god over all gods pretty much shut it off, didn't he?
They kind of did it as a group, so it was.
Yeah, I don't know if there is one.
Or was that? Am I thinking about
Pelor,
the Forgotten Realms?
Yeah, that's the Forgotten Realms.
Oh, okay,
so in Exandria, it was Pelor, Ioun, Sarenrae. The Moonweaver really doesn't factor that much into the mythology.
Yeah, not in the first campaign. She is in the second campaign in Critical Role.
Yeah.
Trying to remember. There's like one more, but I can't think of who it is. Oh, was it Cord?
Yeah, Cord. And then the Raven Queen. One reason why she can interact a little bit more is because she is in the Shadowfell. She's not she wasn't
cut off.
Yeah, she was not one of the deities initially. She dethroned one of them.
Yeah.
In that lore, the Raven Queen is she's in almost all D&D.
Yeah.
Like anything related, there's always her, which is kind of interesting because, Zach, we'll get into your questions because I have a feeling that you have some that we'll be able to snowball into a little bit.
Do we want to talk about Braun leaving the group right now?
If it comes up, we can talk about it.
I think we can talk about that kind of toward the end.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that also affects the channel.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit later, and like, nothing bad. No one freak out.
Yeah, it's not. There's no tea being spilled.
No.
The children say.
There's no problems with Michael, and there's no.
I mean, Michael's my cousin. Like, I see him every day. It's fine.
We're not. No. Yeah, we're all good there. So, Zach, what do you want to start us off with?
Yeah. So my first two notes have already been talked about. So we'll go to my third about the first episode for this recap. Was it 17?
Yeah.
Was that the episode?
17.
All right. Cool. So.
We've done like almost 70 episodes.
I know.
Yeah. So toward the end, Jacob, I believe he talked to Caleb about an alignment change with his character.
Yeah.
I think we should have a chat about that.
So okay,
funny.
this was when you were like cooking that. You were gonna cook the frog.
Was that in 17?
I don't know if it was in 17.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Okay,
so
okay. I don't like changing alignments of characters because alignments. I'll talk about alignments first. Alignments are garbage. I do not care about alignments.
I think they're kind of fun.
Well, I think that for new players, alignments are a good thing. Like if I'm from a game design standpoint, 5th edition really started going heavily on alignments, and I think that's because they wanted to bring in new players. And it's easy for a DM to be like, okay, so there's lawful good. You got like your Supermans. Like you can give people archetypes for alignment. But as you get more experienced, you learn bad people can do good things. Like for example, the masked dude with the sword could have let Animus die, but instead he spared his life. That was a good thing.
It's also like real life. Like I mean,
exactly.
People can have dynamic alignments. Exactly. Like I'm an asshole, but I'm kind of nice sometimes. But like you know, it's dynamic. It changes day by day.
Yeah, and like I think
Thanks.
that alignments are good for new players, but as a player gets more experienced, I think that the only time that I would ever do an alignment change or worry about it is if they start behaving drastically, or like kind of coming from like a filmmaker perspective when you're talking to an actor. So say Animus is a character and Animus is lawful good. And then I'm like, okay, this thing happens in your life, and now you're chaotic neutral. And it's like, okay, how do you play that? You can't. Because you don't, like, that is so abstract that it's hard. Whereas if I say, well, the death of your parents has led you to see things differently, and you become more, like, that's easier to act on. This is getting into, like, theory and stuff. Acting theory and all of that. And I'm not saying we're the best actors here. We're
Jacob's in grad school.
I know. Yeah, I'm in grad school. But yeah, I'm spending money for a degree that I probably won't use.
Are you spending money though?
Shh, Abby,
kind of.
little.
He's teaching.
You're making money.
He's making money to spend.
I had to pay money. I had to pay money for part of it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But going back to what's at hand. Alignments to me aren't a thing anymore when we're this far into the campaign, where it's like if you do an evil action, I expect other players to call you out on it. Me as a DM should not say, Animus, you're now lawful evil, because it breaks the immersion too.
To add on to that though, I did get called out for this.
You did.
because I'll explain what happened. Is we were chilling there in the Bullywog village, and I was asking. I honestly genuinely wasn't like trying to fully do this in front of the Bullywogs as like a fuck you Bullywogs.
You keep making excuses.
No, I know. I picked up a frog and I was like, oh, I want to burn the frog and like give it to Lochnar to eat. And Jacob's like, you want to do this in front of the large frog creatures? You want to burn a smaller frog in front of them? I was like, And everyone else was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's like super evil. And I was like, you know what? I'll take this one back this time because that makes a lot more. That was stupid. It was a bad idea. I ended up taking some frogs on our way out of the swamp for food because we didn't have much food.
Right.
But
I could totally visualize that scenario. Too. Like I could see like Animus like picking up a frog and everybody like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
He'd be like, yeah.
Second
right.
part
and then
though,
put it back.
Second part though, not that this is something I actually think of. It's just something I brought since we brought it up. It's not a secret that Animus is, if you were to put him on a spectrum of good to evil, he is teetering between neutral and evil, depending on what decision he has to make in the time. When it comes
I would honestly, kind of getting even more into it, Zygon is technically, I think, lawful evil.
Yes.
That's not how Zygon plays. I would say Zygon is more of a true neutral, and he kind of just does what he wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Animus is more evil than Zygon. I don't think, and I know Abby kind of has a different view on that, probably.
No, honestly, no. I think Zygon does not like Thea.
I honestly don't think he dislikes you. I just think there's this weird.
Mess with you.
There's a weird tension between your characters.
He likes to push you to the edge.
It's interesting to me, and I honestly think
he pushes.
Like Brady is so trickstery.
You guys
like,
are
Brady as a person is kind of like pranky, and it's funny. Like
you guys are like Ash Ketchum and his his friend that he and him like start Pokemon training at the same time, and they have this
Gary?
intense rivalry.
Are you talking
Like-
about Gary?
Yeah, they have the intense
Isn't that
rivalry.
Gary?
cousin?
First of all,
They're
Gary
like,
is by far a
grandson or
better trainer than Ash. Gary actually became like Pokemon League champion, and he became a Pokemon professor.
No, I know that.
Ash
No, I'm not
sucks.
talking about that. I'm talking about their relationship they have is always pushing each other further, but they never actually hate each other. Depending on
I would say Gary.
Depending on what.
Yeah, I see
season
what
you
I
watch.
see what analogy you're going for here.
Like
But
they have respect for each other. They're in the same group. I'm talking about Thea and Zygon now. They are in the same group. They have respect for each other, but Zygon pushes her a lot harder.
I
than he
honestly
pushes
don't
her.
think they would be friends if they weren't forced to.
Oh, no.
No,
Absolutely not. Maybe we'll get to a point eventually, because I mean, I think Thea wants Zygon to be like happy and better, but like he's also just got these like demonic interests and like general just like
They did it to save his
I
daughter.
don't know.
Yeah, that's the biggest
Yes,
thing.
but she
is
doesn't
if
know
when he gets
True.
to the end of his
If
story,
he opens
arc,
up,
when he gets to the end
Yeah,
of his
and
story
the
arc,
thing
do
is
they
he's
have a
so
chance of being
secretive and
friends?
so it's just like he's so secretive and he won't like I don't know. He won't tell me anything to like let me understand him. And I'm trying so desperately to be understood so that like that unwillingness is so infuriating, I think is like the thing.
Yeah.
Like Thea is so desperately seeking companionship in other people, but she doesn't know how to go about it. And then this group she's with doesn't give a fuck to do that with her. And it's frustrating, and especially with Zygon,
Yeah.
because he's just like so opposite to her.
I think
Like he's I'd say
it's just his whole character, you know. It's like you guys have a chance to actually be friends in the future if he chooses to go back to his way of being a cleric. But we don't know who
Right,
he
and then
was when he was a cleric. We don't know how
Right,
that
and
goes.
now that she knows like he was a cleric and like all this stuff, she's like intrigued for sure, because she's like maybe there's like a lot of similarities here. I don't know, could be.
I feel like
We'll have
we're
to
getting to
figure it
this
out.
point where everybody hates each other and it's becoming the Suicide Squad.
No.
It's a really weird feeling because like I don't think Zygon really likes Thea. Thea doesn't like Zygon. Lochner's kind of a jerk to everybody.
No, we all like
Anzu
Yeah.
does not care about everybody else. Animus kind of has his own thing going on. Braun's gone now for reasons. And so like I feel like the group is literally like if we didn't have to do what we're doing right now, we would all be gone.
I think we
'Cause
have
Lochner wants
to-
relationships that
It's
are good, though.
interesting.
If you look
I'm
at-
kind of interested to see how the group has developed.
You have
and,
to
like,
look at the good parts. If you
super
look at the
cool.
good parts, you've got Anzu and Thea have a pretty solid relationship, even though we get annoyed at how Hunter has been playing Anzu recently. Anzu and Thea
Yeah,
in game
I
have a
mean-
good thing going on. Lochnar it has honestly
Yeah,
gotten
when he
closer with the
decides he
group.
like is interested in that.
Yeah, true. Lochnar's gotten a lot
Yeah,
closer
but
to
then
the
he
whole
still
group.
is just so angry all the time when we're like doing our missions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
when we're like finding a
Lochner
path.
does not want to do anything.
He wants
It's
to
a really
fight.
No.
he wants to drink and be
Fight.
left alone. And I think that's an interesting like character choice that Corey has made, I would say in the last 2 months.
Yeah.
Is ever since you guys ran into his dad or almost his dad, Lochnar's personality has gone to where it's like I don't want to be near anybody because
Yeah.
I'm worried. I honestly think it's because Lochnar is worried what will happen to you guys.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting
Yeah.
Which
thought.
we
and
will.
like
We will.
I see that Corey is feeling restrained by how dumb Lochnar is. I can see
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
Maybe he gets smart. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that.
I
whole
plan
thing.
on doing something really, really fun, really, really shortly with that.
You should do like what happened to Patrick for an episode of SpongeBob, where like all of a sudden he's just
Super
fucking
smart.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Flowers for Algernon, Lochnar.
Alright. So ending off Zach's question there, because we just went on a
Alignments,
tangent.
they don't matter.
Overall, in alignments, if you're going to do alignments,
If
the
you're
thing-
new,
the
they're
thing
good.
that's happening with me and Jacob that we've actually talked about since I created my character is that there can be points in time where he may actually tell me Animus has just gone to evil. And he can either do that in game or he can tell me that out of game, and I will start playing Animus a little bit differently, not too much, a little bit differently, based on that fact. But I've been close a lot, and I have teetered on the edge, and we haven't fully gotten to that point yet, but he's definitely given me the heads up.
I honestly think that if Animus sees one of the group die in front of him, he's gonna snap.
Oh, 100%. There's a couple things that might happen that'll put him over.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely see.
All right, Zach, next question. Let's go.
Next question. I think I want to talk a little bit more about that meeting with Winnogear and that whole scenario going on.
I can talk about Winnogear.
Interesting.
It was very interesting.
Okay, so Winnogear is a god from my own personal campaign that I'm building. As is.
Oh, she's just a god.
Yeah, she's a god. As is the gatekeeper,
who is currently my favorite character.
Yeah,
that Jake.
So the gatekeeper is not his real name, but if you see him again, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But
I will see him again.
Winnogear is her real name, and so when I first designed Winnogear, she was going to be the matron of the pantheon, but I've decided that I have turned her into the goddess of life and death, and I have renamed the matron, and that's going to be a whole thing. But essentially, Winnogear, the reason that she never blinks is because she is the arbitrator of everything that is alive and everything that dies. She has to see all of it forever, because if any of it goes wrong, then she messed up and something's wrong. Another thing, so on the plane that I'm designing, that's 100% true. The elves are all dead. The elves are extinct on that plane.
It's like a Rick and Morty episode where they have to leave different dimensions because they fucked up so bad.
Yeah, so
but Jacob, reason I like to play elves.
I know you like to play elves, but elves are extinct on this plane that I'm designing, mainly because Lord of the Rings established really intricate, detailed elf culture, and then the dwarves were the ones that really didn't do anything. So on my plane, since the elves are gone, the dwarves are now the craftsmen and the ones that are more mystical. And so I really want to be able to explore elven ruins and stuff like that, because I think elves are always prosperous in almost every fantasy setting that you ever see. Elves are always the ones that are yeah, we're the elves, we've got all this money and look at this nature and stuff, and it's well, what happens to that if they're all gone? So I think that'll be fun to get into, hopefully later down on the line. I'm not done with the campaign yet. I've got the major cities designed, and I've got the Pantheon designed. But a big feature of my Pantheon is that they live among the material plane that they're on. They walk among the people. They are 100% there. It's kind of like in Norse mythology, the gods lived on Asgard, but they would come down to Earth and live with the people, like Odin. Yeah. There's many stories of Odin going to people as disguised, and he would ask for shelter, and then if they said no, he would curse them, and so it's a little bit like that. And so Winnogear, the reason she's also the goddess of blood and vitality. So that's the reason she looks so weird when you guys first meet her, is because when she traveled across the veil, basically, across planes, so it drained her. So the less power she has and the more drained she is, the more her true form or her death aspect is revealed. This is really deep lore. I'm really sorry, I'm kind of sidelining here. But
I'm so interested.
But she essentially draws the vitality out of beings to restore herself. And she doesn't do it lightly, and there's a cost to it.
Like the deer, because the deer died.
Yeah, and she vaporized that thing. She pulls every ounce of vitality out of something.
For those who may not have watched the episode, there's a deer nearby, and she sucked the life out of a deer. Carry on.
Not only that, but she commanded it to come over.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was kind of wanting to hint that she has this insane power, and that squirrel.
I was like, vampire.
Kind of.
And
she
then
is the
I was
god
like,
of blood.
oh, maybe
so, yeah, you guys thought it was one of the five, which I thought was really funny.
For a sec, we did, yeah.
For a brief minute. But so essentially, she created this virus on accident, and it's come over here because of reasons, which we'll get into later in the campaign. But
she's like, I need to know which of her like acolytes did this shit. I was like, who the fuck?
yeah.
I think I have ideas.
So that squirrel is her messenger, and that squirrel travels kind of like Ratatoskr in Norse mythology. I'm heavily inspired by Norse mythology, but that squirrel is her messenger and her eyes. And the reason that you guys could see it was not because you're around demons. Do you know the reason why?
No.
It's because you've been close to death.
Ah. How did Hunter not be able to see?
Oh, okay.
So I mean, like, close to death as in like you have witnessed, like the Thestrals in Harry Potter, like someone. Yeah, you have witnessed death. Now you're probably saying, well, Ansu saw his wife get vaporized.
It's a different kind of
he
death.
didn't.
He wasn't like next to her.
No, he didn't
either.
see it. And then Lochnar, you would say, well, he watched his brother die. Well, first of all, we don't know if his brother is dead. Second of all, he didn't see him die. You guys have seen people die, and people that were close to you.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Thestrals sort of thing. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys would figure that out, because it just so happens that those two things link, where it's like demon stuff and this. And then I would also say that like clerics work a little differently in my plane. So they don't have natural magic. They use items that have been created by the gods that they worship. So their magic is not intrinsic to them, it's item based. Like, because I think that clerics in normal D&D, they do have holy symbols, but you don't need your holy symbol all the time. In my world, you need that thing, and if you don't have that thing, you can't use your magic. It's a harder magic system, which we'll get into later when we get in there. But I have the rest of the Pantheon designed, and they might show up.
Oh boy.
It depends on what you do and where you go.
Oh, I only want to deal with the 5 right now. Jeez.
Just think of it as a teaser for the campaign that I am creating that will come later.
It'll come most likely after my campaign, unless Jacob wants the campaign again after this campaign.
We'll see. We'll see where.
If
we'll
you want to do that, I will not argue with that. But otherwise,
I'm so intrigued by this. I'm like, let's just go straight into this one.
Otherwise, I will DM the next.
I like this idea.
And then like, so Winogir, just kind of wrap this up. She is not evil, but she's also not good. And the only reason she's doing
like the Raven Queen.
Yeah, like death gods in general kind of can't show favorites, because that would the only people she hates are people who cheat at death, or somehow like she murderers are a big thing for her, because you're killing someone before they were supposed to die. So she does not like murderers. She doesn't like anyone that ends someone's life prematurely, and then liches and people who outlive when they should die, which is kind of borrowing from the Fates. Big hodgepodge of different mythologies here.
I like it.
But also, so the last thing is that these gods are technically mortal. Technically, they can die, much like the Norse gods. They can die, but if they die, then they reincarnate. So there's a lot of different stuff there, but if a god dies then the world kind of starts going out of balance. And then just to kind of like, I guess I'll just kind of cards on the table here. I've got multiple gods that each align to multiple aspects of cleric domains.
Nice.
So there's a god that is specifically about cities and civilization, which was an unearthed arcana domain. It's not even an official D&D domain yet. I've got one.
I've seen that one.
I've got one that is specifically for a cleric domain I have created, which is going to be really fun. Which is what Oscar is.
I would like to play. Will you make a god for remember when I brought up the garlic bread
Oh,
domain
garlic.
cleric?
So
God.
there's
Yeah.
so the domain that I've made is a
That
food
was fun.
domain, cleric.
Oh boy.
Well, so I will specifically do garlic.
Garlic bread. God.
That was fun.
You could also use a giant,
someone
like,
really
a
went
giant
in.
garlic bread for your weapon.
Oh boy.
It's a giant.
Someone like really went in and made like a garlic bread domain, and it's like very detailed.
That's so funny. All right, so maybe we'll see Jacob DM the next campaign if he wants to. We will.
I mean, if my original is ready by the end of this campaign, I will do it.
Okay. Also, I mean, we will take a small break where we'll do probably a month or two.
We'll do some one shots, probably.
Maybe like a mini campaign, like a 1 month or 2 month mini campaign that I would most likely DM. Avatar would be fun. Something completely out of the blue would be so fun.
Magic the
Gathering.
And it might give Jacob the pleasure of playing a character and then be able to DM again. That way we break it up.
Zach, do you have any more questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I'm
All
trying to think of anything. Oh, so I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Zygon getting the skull that was like encased in crystal.
Oh, the crystal skull. The king with the crystal skull.
The crystals are made from the bodies of the infected.
Oh?
They naturally crystallize, and then it spreads the infection more.
Oh, that's probably not a good thing to have.
Did that happen to my mom?
It did not.
That's not a good thing
and there's
to
a
have
reason for that. There's a reason for that, and you'll have to figure that out later.
Well, good thing he has it in a bag of holding, where a pocket dimension.
It's a pocket
has
dimension.
A very, very small amount. Of
it's essentially a vacuum.
And
yeah, it's essentially a vacuum.
That may be able to not allow it to spread. So, well,
he just opens it and spores just go everywhere.
I have one more. I think we should mention Michael.
Oh yeah.
Oh okay, yeah, Braun.
Just real quickly.
So I will. Okay, so Michael's work schedule has been crazy recently, and he's not been able to get a consistent one, so he doesn't know if he'll have to get up super early in the morning to go to work. So for right now, he's taking a break from the stream. I don't know how long it's going to last. He could be back after we take this week break for Father's Day. He could be back in 2 months. He could be back in 6 months. He might be gone for the rest of the campaign. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be gone for the rest of the campaign. And I'm trying to talk to him about us doing stuff on Saturdays that would be a side mission that he would be doing to keep him still relevant in the world, because there's some stuff that he wants to take care of. So that is the update. Michael is still part of the group. There's nothing going on there.
No.
We're thinking
we
about
were meming today in the chat. We had some memes going in the chat today because Jack Black's going to be on a D&D one-shot episode.
He better be a barbarian or a barbarian.
It's going to be so fun. Yeah.
Anyway, and it's also got Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith is also part of that
My
group.
dad.
Yeah, that's going to be insane. Kevin Smith is
my
not
dad's
Abby's
name.
dad. If Kevin Smith was Abby's dad, she wouldn't be here right now.
I wouldn't have gotten a film degree. I would have just been making films.
I've been like, hey, Kevin Smith, Dad, give me money, please, to make Clerks 15.
Small loan of $1 million.
Anyway,
yeah.
So yeah, Michael's not gone. What we are talking about is maybe using his slot and bringing in some guests to be guest characters for a week, 2 weeks, a month.
Yeah.
Just depending on how long they're there.
Not all, not like every week, but like,
it wouldn't be a permanent thing, and it wouldn't be all the time. But we're talking to some people, talking to some friends,
including Zach. Because obviously Zach, one of the first people.
Zach would probably be the first one, honestly.
Hey.
We talked to my sister. We've talked to.
Get a character ready, Zach.
Possibly.
Yeah, I should probably do that.
I actually need to talk to you, Zach, because I have an idea.
Possibly some significant others within, not my wife, because she will never play D&D, but
your wife.
Some other significant others in the group. That
my wife.
My wife.
I wish.
Is that funny again? Is my wife funny again?
I don't know.
I personally think it is. My wife.
But
I don't know.
Oh,
I would love it if maybe Hunter's girlfriend Shay. That would be really fun.
That's what I was hinting at. I think it'd be so funny to watch Shay play a character with Hunter,
Oh, she'd cuss him out the whole time.
It would be so funny to have Anzu just be smashed into his place.
You know, it'd be hilarious if she played like an ex-girlfriend of Anzu's.
God, that'd be
my God.
funny.
That'd be so funny.
So funny.
Like another gnome, and she just like
God,
yells at him, and
that'd be great.
Oh man.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll talk about it, and we've got plans for the channel. Like, the three of us, the three dudes, are we're gonna do some Pokemon TCG stuff soon.
Oh yeah.
We're hopefully starting some Minecraft stuff. Zach and I are talking about doing a Pokemon randomizer. So the channel's about to explode with content.
Explode.
Yes.
Our content's going to be all over.
We say explode, but like really, we're just adding a couple things here and there to help.
Well, going from
broaden.
one day of streaming to possibly 6 days of streaming is a big deal.
That'd be big.
Maybe not 6.
But
maybe
also
like
on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
YouTube.
we're gonna be putting a lot of this on YouTube.
We're gonna be putting a box opening of actually, guys. Okay, so here was my thought, and like this might be a stream exclusive here. Okay, I'm thinking about driving up to where you live and us recording this box.
Yes,
sick.
Yes.
I am seriously. I've got a weekend coming up where I'm free. I have a buddy who plays Commander. I might just drive up to you guys with him, and we might just 4-player draft this thing.
We'll talk about it
and record it.
You guys may see that happen soon. So, but yeah, ending that off. Yeah. Michael, we'll talk to him. Maybe we'll get him on just to have Braun actually say goodbye to us before or for the summer. But otherwise, he may come back maybe at the end of nearer to the end of the campaign so that he can have Braun actually fight. But overall, nothing wrong there. We just may not see him for a few weeks, or just maybe he might take a break for the summer.
Oh, that reminds me, you guys leveled.
Oh, well, tell us later. Oh, we
yeah,
did it, guys. All right, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.